The most important thing in this life is feeling confident in yourself and loving yourself. It's where any manifestation starts, because our outer world is a reflection of the way we feel inside. So, manifesting a healthy relationship or even manifesting money or a certain job first starts with the confidence and the self-love and the self-esteem to achieve that, because you need to feel worthy. And the tricky part about this is that you first need to love yourself and feel confident in order to have a good life experience, and not the other way around. Everything starts within, and happiness at the core is about loving yourself. There's no such thing as feeling happy without feeling confident and without loving yourself and without having a good, healthy self-esteem. And isn't being happy what we all want, right? That's why we're here. Why is self-love such a tricky one? Well, I think it's because self-love is not unconditional love. It is a conditional love. It is a love that you need to practice, that you need to have a routine with, and that you need to be consistent with. It is a love that you almost need to artificially implement into your life and practice with in order to feel it, in order to love yourself. I'm gonna explain you exactly how to do this and how to grow your self-esteem in this video. Now, my name is Davy. I'm a PhD student in chemical engineering at the University of Cambridge. And in my free time, I love to study things about psychology, manifestation, law of attraction, even the science behind this. And I want to bring science and self-development together. And I think the most important topic in self-development is self-love. In this video, I'll first explain why we're not born loving ourselves. And then I'll give you 5 practices that I think are essential for cultivating self-love and self-esteem. So I already said self-love is a conditional type of love, and we're not born with it. And the reason I think we're not born with it is when we get put on this earth, we're fully dependent on the love of our parents for survival. If you compare us to other animal species, our pregnancy is relatively way shorter than, for example, that of apes or other animals. And they get born being way more developed. They can already walk, they can already feed themselves to some extent. But we as humans get born in the most vulnerable way ever. We fully 100% depend on the love and care of our parents to survive. So in a way, we immediately are born depending on someone else's love in order to survive. So in a way, we don't need this self-love and self-care to survive. It's not part of our survival package, right? And I think the more love we receive during our childhood from our parents, the more opportunity we have to develop our own self-love, but not always. I think self-love and confidence, because it's so easily affected by, what you go through. Maybe someone makes a mean comment to you during your childhood that sticks with you forever, or you're so dependent on your parents that you don't really trust or rely on yourself. And when you don't rely on your parents anymore, you might get into a relationship where you fully depend on that other person's love in order to feel worthy, in order to feel love. And we never then really learn how to give ourselves that feeling of love, how to give ourselves that feeling of worthy without needing anything else or anyone else to love us, and how we can feel self-sufficient by just our own love. That doesn't mean you don't need people in your life. Actually, the opposite. The more you love yourself, the more healthy relationships you will attract into your life, and the more loving friendships, loving partnerships that you will have. Now, let me give you 5 practices that I think are at the core of cultivating self-love and self-esteem. The first one, you need to respect yourself. Now, as I said, self-love is not unconditional. It is the only conditional type of love. And what I mean by that, when a baby gets born on this earth, the mom will love the baby unconditionally. But with self-love, it doesn't work that way. In a way, you need to prove yourself to love yourself. And it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but what I mean by that is that you need to be a person that you respect to love yourself. You need a person that you like to love yourself. And I definitely don't want anyone to feel called out, but if you're eating unhealthy all the time, if you're making to-do lists but then not actually taking any action if you're just sitting at home instead of having some movement or going for a walk. If you're not doing the things that you promise to yourself, you start to not respect yourself, and it's impossible to love yourself. If you think about it, what would be your ideal person? Maybe your ideal partner, a person that is, reliable, consistent, a person that is healthy, a person that is exercises regularly, looks fit, all of those qualities. Do you possess those qualities? Are you making sure that you are the person of your dreams? And what this self-respect is truly about is becoming the person of your dreams, doing the things that will grow your self-respect, will make you appreciate yourself more. And a big part about confidence is what people think is the way you look. And I'm not gonna deny and say that is completely untrue. But personally, I don't think it's necessarily the way you look, because there are beautiful people in this world that, hate the way they look and don't have a lot of self-confidence. So growing that self-respect comes from taking care of yourself, eating healthy, exercising regularly, showing up for yourself when you said you would do something, a certain work task, being friendly to people, treat other people in a way that you would want to be treated. Become the ideal person that, in the ideal scenario, if you were to describe the person of your dreams, you need to become that person first. And that is why self-love is a conditional love, because you need to do all of those things. You need to take care of yourself, and you need to take care of your body and show up for yourself to respect yourself. Second rule that you need to live by is you only do things that feel good to you. Again, self-love is a conditional type of love. So these rules that I'm telling you, you just need to apply without thinking, even if you don't understand how they work. Everything that you do, before you do it, you ask, does this feel good to me? Does this align with who I am? And from now on, you will only do things that feel good to you. And maybe there's gonna be minor work tasks that you don't feel like doing, but if it eventually works towards a goal that you wanna go towards, then it is still part of who you are and who you want to be. And you really actively, because self-love is unconditional love, actively need to train yourself to ask yourself with everything, does this feel good to me? Do you have a certain relationship in your life and someone is not treating you in a way that you would like? Does this feel good to you? No. If it doesn't feel good, you walk away immediately. You just need to artificially live by this rule. Is there a certain social event you're at and you're not feeling comfortable? Does it feel good to you? No, you leave. You dread going to the gym, but you know the gym is gonna make you feel good. So not going is not making you feel good. Go to the gym. Postponing your work task. Does that feel good to you? No. Work on a task. Judging other people. Does that make you feel good? No. Refrain from that as well. Every micro thing that you do, every micro thought, you ask yourself, does this feel good to me? And if you start to apply this to everything in your life, you'll just naturally lead yourself to self-love, because you're only doing things that feel good to you. You're only doing things that align with who you are. So there's no other thing left other than loving yourself. Now the third one, and this one is gonna sound weird to some people, talk to yourself in the mirror. If you hear this one and you're like, that's too embarrassing to do that. If you're too embarrassed to talk to yourself in the mirror, that means you're too embarrassed for yourself, because the only person that's there is you. So if you're too embarrassed to do that, that is a huge reflection of your confidence. Because that means you're not even confident enough to be yourself in front of yourself. Chuck that embarrassment away and start to talk to yourself. Start to talk positively to yourself. Look yourself in the eye in the mirror and give yourself compliments. Maybe put on a love song or any song that makes you feel good and sing it to yourself in the mirror. Look yourself in the eye. It is gonna feel weird maybe in the beginning, but it opens up so many portals of confidence, and you start to grow this relationship with yourself, because all we do is we walk around and we criticize ourselves in our head and we go to bed. But we never have that positive interaction with ourselves. So yeah, obviously, if we never have a nice conversation with ourselves, we don't like ourselves. That's literally the way it works. Like, that's how simple we humans are. We don't like people that are nice to us. So we don't like ourselves if we're not nice to ourselves. So when we look in the mirror and when we give ourselves compliments, even if you don't mean them in the moment or you're not fully convinced in the moment, you know, say to yourself, you're beautiful, you're doing so well, you're doing amazing. See what happens. Literally try it. Because this weird feeling starts to happen where you're just like, you know, actually that felt quite good. Do it again. Do it every day. Do it in the morning, do it at night. If you're more comfortable with just putting music on and singing to yourself, do that. But this me time, this moment where you talk to yourself, is when you grow that relationship with yourself. Because by talking to ourselves in the mirror, we first of all grow more self-esteem, because we allow ourselves to be ourselves in front of ourselves, if that makes sense. And we grow this relationship with ourselves. We start to increase this likability. We just start to literally warm up to ourselves. Fourth point, self-criticism needs to go in the bin. This is a hard one. We all are constantly criticizing ourselves. You know, this is not good enough. I'm not good at that. I don't like this about myself. I don't like that about myself. In the bin. Just fully stop it. Every time you catch yourself doing it, and I catch myself doing it sometimes as well. Every time I catch myself doing it, I reject it and I override it with the opposite. If I tell myself, you know, I'm not good at this specific task, I'll just literally reject it and say, no, I am good at that task. Even if I don't believe yet that I'm good at it, I'm artificially saying it to myself. I am good at that. It is beautiful. It does look good. It is nice. Because again, we're simple creatures. Everything that we feed ourselves imprints on us. So if we keep artificially, literally overriding all of our negative criticism with the opposite, with positive thinking, we'll cultivate that, we'll give that energy. And because our thoughts are frequencies, so if we have a negative thought and a positive thought interacting, they balance each other out. That's literally how our brain works and our thoughts work. So every time we think something negative, if we then artificially feed ourselves something positive after that, that will cause balancing or neutralization of the energy. No one is bad at anything. You're only bad at it once you believe you're bad at it. Once you start to feed that negative thought spiral energy. But every time we fall into self-criticism, we bring ourselves back by a positive thought. And even if we then go back to the negative thinking, we just keep balancing and neutralizing the energy. Literally, even if you don't believe me right now, you're like, okay, yeah, you can say that. Wow, what is it gonna do? It's a neutralization of the energy. You don't need to understand how it works to practice it. All you need to know is that every time a negative self-criticism thought occurs, you're gonna artificially think the opposite. And my fifth and final tip is the way that other people feel about you is only dependent on your thoughts about yourself. This took me a very, very long time to understand, but not feeling confident, especially around people, you know, social anxiety, or feeling insecure in public or wherever it is, it's because you're afraid of other people's judgment, right? Oh, what if they think this? What if they think that? What if they think this looks weird? Or what if they think I'm not funny enough? Or what if they think I'm this and that? Those thoughts, those fears are the only thing that makes it true. So what happens if you go around thinking, oh, what if I'm not this? What if I'm not that? What happens is this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yes, people will actually think you're not this or you're not that. People will actually notice the negative things that you're projecting into the world, because we're all connected. So all the negative things that we think about ourselves are projected into this world, and other people subconsciously pick up on this. So every time you are afraid of a certain judgment, or you criticize yourself, or you're afraid you're going to be judged on something, you will get judged on something. Once you really understand it, you're like, okay, I don't think about, you know, this thing I don't like about myself or this thing I'm lacking. If I don't focus my energy on that, no one will actually notice it. No one will actually think it. Judgment that you so fear of others, you create. People will only think negative things if you project them into the world, if you think that negative thing first. And I do this with meetings as well. You know, for example, I feel super unprepared and I feel like I didn't do enough work, or the work that I've done is not good enough. And then I realized it doesn't matter if the work is not good enough, because the only thing that makes it not good enough is if I think it is not good enough. So if I go into that meeting thinking, oh, the work that I've done is not that good, literally people will pick up on that energy and people will actually think the work is not good enough. So you're creating that problem for yourself. Even if my work is not good enough, I will not go into a meeting thinking it is not good enough, because the work never matters. All that matters is the way you present it, the way you communicate it, the way you think about it. A good example is, you know, people can have ridiculous plans or like be super bad at something, but if they present it in a very confident and selling and extravagant way, you will literally believe them. So again, your work or the way you look or a certain characteristic that you don't like about yourself, none of those matter. All that matters is your thoughts about it, your confidence about it. It is always a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you don't want people to notice something that you don't like about yourself, stop saying to yourself that you don't like it. Stop giving that energy. Literally, don't underestimate how all of our minds are connected. We can pick up on people's energy. That was me massively rambling on self-love. Thank you so much if you stuck around up until here. I really, really appreciate it. And I would love if you give me a like or subscribe to my channel. And I also would love to see you in my next video. Sending you all my love.